Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of The Monster Men Isle of Terror #1 from American mythology. So, this is part of their Edgar Rice Burroughs universe, and this is based on one of Edgar Rice Burroughs' lesser known novels, The Monster Men. And this is the second in a series of miniseries that follows up on that original novel where the protagonists go back to the island to see if they can find the missing 13th subject of the original Monster Men experiments. And so here we have a fantastic cover by the interior artist Roy Allen Martinez. He's always been a great cover artist, but I feel like he's taken it to a whole nother level on the Monster Men covers here. We have our protagonist here, right? Looking all badass, action pose, ready to kick ass. And then we have number 13 jumping up behind him, ready to attack. This is a really intense, scary looking cover. Automatically, we know that this is not Jungle Fun Time. This is a horror comic. And it is just so well rendered and just so beautifully done. So the artwork continues to be absolutely wonderful from Roy Allen Martinez. And as you can see, there is a lot of black in here. He handles night very, very well. This is just really capturing kind of the darkness and isolation and absolute unknown that you get from being out at night in the jungle. And it's very rare to see light and dark dealt with this well. When I finished watching The Batman recently, I left the theater thinking, wow, that looks like a Monster Men comic. Because, usually with movies, at least nowadays, movies and TV shows, they'll shoot it in the light and then they'll darken it up and it'll become this murky mess you can barely make out. And the same thing can happen in comics too, right? For instance, this is a splash page from Doom Patrol in which John Byrne draws this army of creatures surrounding robot men deep under the sea. And unfortunately, because of the way it's colored, we can't see most of it. And so actually lighting your subject and making the world dark around them is just so much more effective. And whether it's the Batman movie or this comic, it just makes the storytelling very clear, very intense, and just gorgeous to behold. And story-wise, this is by Mike Wolfer. He has left the company and now works for Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated, doing comics like their Jane Porter comic, as well as other things for the company. But he completed the script for these 3 issues of Monster Men before he left the company. And it follows up on the first mini-series, and you can jump in on this first issue. It orients you well enough that I think you're going to get something out of it, but you will want that first miniseries because this stuff is good, guys. Again, they're back on the island looking for number 13 from this experiment that was trying to create artificial men, and they all ended up being, well, monster men. And you will see some monster men in here. And I am not going to spoil that for you, but there is some kind of disturbing horror stuff in here. It is, again, not Jungle Fun Time, kids, but it is very, very well done. It is a wonderful wedding of the horror comics that Mike Wolfer does on a regular basis and the Edgar Rice Burroughs comics that he does on a regular basis. And it's just this wonderful merging of the two. And so, yes, this gets my highest possible recommendation. Monster Men is a fantastic series. And the next issue is solicited currently for May 25th, so it's got kind of a bi-monthly schedule. So presumably the 3rd and final issue will probably hit stores in July, but we don't have July solicitations yet. We'll have to see on that. This is the final review for the comics that shipped this week. All of Mike Wolfer's American mythology stuff is highly, highly recommended. He also did Star. He also did Beyond the Furthest Star. All 3 of them are just sensational. And obviously it is unusual for all those comics to ship at the same time. And I just want to say that the last time I got this many comics of this caliber together was back in the 90s when I was collecting Jim Shooter Valiant comics, and I ended up buying all of them for the Unity crossover. And so I ended up getting Shadow Man #4 along with an issue of Exo Man of War and Harbinger that were part of that crossover. And I ended up going to the beach that week, and I only had those 3 comic books, but they were absolutely enough to last all week because you could just reread them over and over again. They were just so good, especially Shadow Man #4. That issue is one of the reasons why Shadow Man is my all-time favorite superhero. And it's just amazing to be able to pick up, a line of comic books all at one time that's that high caliber. And I just want to thank everyone who worked on these comics. It's taken a while to get some of those issues out, but it's definitely been worth it. And of course, the ironic thing about my example there, one of the reasons it's so memorable, is that particular month of Valiant Comics was around the time Jim Shooter left the company. And so a few months later, the comics went in a very different direction, right? And so I don't know what's going to happen to the Edgar Rice Burroughs titles from American Mythology once these current miniseries by Mike Wolfer wrap up. I don't know if they'll continue. I don't know in what form they'll continue. I don't know how the comics will be. But what I can tell you is that nothing will ever take away how good the comics are right now. And we're always going to have the comics that have been done, and we're always going to be able to go back and enjoy them again and again and again because they're just really great work. So we're not going to see any more American Mythology Burroughs comics until May, but I've got plenty of more videos planned for the coming weeks. And so we'll be doing a video on this rare John Carter figure and also on this rare card set that talks about the Tarzan the Epic Adventures push of the 1990s. So like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, see ya.